To be honest, Blake, you got exposed. Your BFF is now engaged and you can't talk to them. That's gotta suck. And that's not Justin's fault. That's your fault. You were caught. You were caught red-handed.
Blake Lively was once considered Taylor Swift's closest friend, but now she is left out of one of the most significant milestones in Taylor's life. And when you look beyond the shiny public image, you start to notice the contradictions that are right there in the open. In this video, we explain the path piece by piece, from the disappearing mentions to the cold body language on the red carpet to the absent seat at the engagement. And by the end, it becomes clear that this exclusion may not be accidental, but instead the last chapter in a friendship that has been slowly falling apart.
These photos, it is official. There it is. We're going to go through these quickly, then we're going to come back and do some more. But there we are. Your English teacher and your gym teacher are getting married. Wow. And literally, it's been up for like 10 minutes and already has 1.5 million likes. This is official. She said yes. It is. Oh, kids are next. This is no joke.
When people used to mention Taylor Swift's inner circle, Blake Lively's name came up right away. Fans believed they were inseparable because the evidence was everywhere. Blake was not just another casual friend invited to a concert or caught in a random selfie. She was present at Taylor's famous July 4th parties, the ones that practically shaped pop culture for a few summers, with matching outfits, sparklers in sync, and carefully framed group shots. Filled with laughter, these moments looked like the perfect definition of squad goals. There were even family trips where Blake and Ryan Reynolds were seen with Taylor in quiet coastal getaways, and the internet became certain their bond was genuine. On social media, Taylor highlighted Blake in glowing tributes, while Blake left sly, playful compliments that felt like inside jokes, making fans feel as if they were overhearing sisters instead of colleagues. But this is where things began to look overly polished. The friendship displays were curated to near perfection, every angle cropped, every caption written to grab headlines for a bond that was supposed to seem authentic. Doesn't it feel odd that so much of their connection was revealed through perfectly timed posts and carefully arranged pictures? Think about it. Taylor has had many other big-name friendships, like with Selena Gomez or Gigi Hadid, and those often appeared in quick snaps, shaky videos, and raw moments. But with Blake, it always seemed to carry the shine of a promotional rollout. The public loved it because it was presented as flawless, but real life does not stay flawless for long. And isn't it revealing that Blake's appearances in Taylor's world started to shrink just as Taylor reached record-breaking success? In times when Taylor leaned hard on her female friendships to fight off narratives of feuds or loneliness, where was Blake? She slowly faded into the background, appearing less and less even when fans thought she would be front and center. Maybe the friendship was simply convenient for a time, a headline generator that worked for both, but less fitting once Taylor's spotlight grew even bigger. The thing about facades is you only realize they were facades once they start to crack. And those cracks were always there, hidden in plain sight. Most people overlooked the subtle, uncomfortable hints, not in captions or party photos, but in how they acted when the cameras were live.
It's just funny because as she was talking about this, everyone's talking about, oh crap, what's going to be in this album? What's going to happen? Is she going to bash on Blake? And the song that I think is most in question is the one with Sabrina Carpenter. The fact that Sabrina Carpenter is now in a song with Taylor Swift. Sabrina Carpenter is the one who's following Justin Baldoni, did a movie called Clouds. You can't tell me Taylor and Sabrina didn't talk about this. You can't tell me that. They had to have talked about this. And the fact that Travis has unfollowed him, the fact that Sabrina is still following Justin, all of this collides to sort of tell me that, yeah, Blake's done. Done. And yeah, I am going to make it about that story because I'm happy for them. And I to be honest, Blake, you got exposed. Your BFF is now engaged and you can't talk to them. That's gotta suck. And that's not Justin's fault. That's your fault. You were caught. Red-handed. It is despicable.
Could their smiles and poses have revealed more than their words ever did? That was the question fans began to whisper once clips and photos no longer felt as warm as before. Because when you line up their appearances at premieres and award shows through the years, the energy changes. At first, Taylor pulled Blake in close, eyes locked on her with a wide grin, but Later, you start to see hesitation smiles that do not fully reach Blake's eyes, her body angled away from Taylor more often, and in one widely shared red carpet moment, Taylor leans in to laugh while Blake glances off to the side. Mid-smile, like her focus has drifted elsewhere, it is the kind of small gesture you might miss unless you are really watching. Compare that with how Blake acts around other stars at film premieres. She is lively, touching arms, making direct eye contact, posture open, and engaged, yet around Taylor her presence seems smaller, shoulders angled, outward arms held close even. Her smiles look rehearsed, more polite than genuine, which raises the question, was this just nerves about being on camera together or a sign of tension under the surface? Some viewers brushed it off, but body language experts noticed more. Specialists often point out a disconnect. When gestures clash with the message being shown, you might laugh, but if your torso leans away, it signals something different. And that is exactly what people spotted here. Taylor looked fully engaged, moving toward Blake. But Blake kept back, creating space, even if only an inch or two, and inches matter when the whole point of the picture is closeness. It might sound like overthinking, but think about how easily people get distracted by the glamour of celebrity events while the subtle signals of strain unfold unnoticed. In the flashing lights, those little hints are drowned out. Yet when you compare them across appearances, the pattern stands out, which leads to a bigger question. Were those polished smiles hiding a friendship already under pressure long before the public caught on? Bodies do not lie. And if their physical presence was pulling apart, the next step in the story became harder to miss when the silence moved from red carpets to Instagram feeds.
Now, the wedding engagement ring was worth up to $1 million. A lot of people are saying, experts, jewelry experts, which would make sense. You got to give someone like Taylor, who's a billionaire, something pretty snazzy. I mean, look at her watch. Yikes. And wow, I couldn't afford that. They were about to go out to dinner, and he said, let's go out and have a glass of wine. They got out there, and that's when he asked her. It was beautiful. This came in from Travis's dad, who dished a little bit more on the proposal itself. So there it is. It's official now. They've asked the question. And so, yeah, they talk a little bit more. If there was a quote that's not there, but yeah, it's not going to be a royal wedding. They want something more casual, more down to earth. That is their plan.
So when did the online silence actually begin? At first, Blake was right there cheering on her friend through big milestones in the early days. She quickly posted about Taylor's music, leaving playful notes whenever a tour started. And to fans, it all felt genuine, like the kind of inside jokes that come with a strong bond. People thought that rhythm would continue, especially as Taylor's career grew. But then something shifted, and it was not subtle. Scroll through the timeline, and you see the drop as Taylor hit some of her biggest achievements, chart records, awards, tours, and Blake's feed stayed empty on those dates. While other celebrities filled Instagram with glowing shout-outs and tags, Blake stayed quiet. Fans began commenting under old posts, asking again and again where the support was. And it was not just one or two missed moments. It became a pattern. Some argued maybe she was pulling back from social media or too busy with family and work. But those excuses collapsed when she continued, posting for plenty of other celebrities, congratulating film launches, supporting colleagues, celebrating friends in her own circle. All of that kept going, which made the silence about Taylor stand out even more. It did not look like forgetfulness. It looked like a choice on Taylor's side. The shift showed, too. She had always been vocal about Blake, praising her openly in captions. But as Blake climbed higher in Hollywood, Taylor stopped giving the same public hype when Blake had major wins or milestones. Taylor's account stayed quiet, which was unusual given how openly she celebrated friends like Gigi and Selena. Suddenly, their feeds felt scrubbed of each other, almost as if the friendship had been edited out. Fans noticed it even before the media. Screenshots spread in fan groups comparing old posts full of love to the emptiness. Now, some even wondered if they were avoiding each other on purpose, carefully creating distance where millions could see it. Whatever the reason, the silence spoke louder than words, and once the online displays vanished, the real-world absences became impossible to brush off. When whispers spread about Taylor's engagement, fans expected the usual headlines: secret gatherings, inner circle photographs slipping into private venues, and much of that happened with exclusive dinners and private parties. But the surprise was not who attended, it was who didn't. Blake, lively, once one of Taylor's most visible allies, was nowhere in sight. The absence hit hard, because if anyone was expected to be there, it was her. Speculation exploded. Some thought maybe she was filming in another city or staying home for family reasons, but those excuses sounded thin, especially since this was not the first time she had skipped big moments. In the past, explanations about filming were undercut when paparazzi later spotted her casually out to dinner, which led fans to start calling those stories surface-level cover-ups. Whispers suggested her absence from the engagement wasn't a mistake at all. Insiders claimed it was deliberate. Taylor's circle had already shifted months earlier, with some names showing up around her more, while Blake's presence faded. If true, leaving her out of the engagement wasn't sudden, it was the final step after a long, quiet pullback. The engagement was the clearest sign of a realignment. The change even showed in mutual connections. Stars, who once divided time between them, began leaning more toward Taylor in recent months, appearing on vacations, backstage at shows, or in candid photos with her, not Blake. And in Hollywood, that rarely happens by chance. So when Blake was missing from celebrations of Taylor's new chapter, it wasn't just another absence. It was seen as intentional, a symbolic cut. The engagement revealed what had been brewing all along, that Blake's role had been moved out of the spotlight slowly and strategically, which leaves the question of what could have unraveled their friendship so deeply that a public snub like this felt necessary.
You know who's not happy for the couple, it seems? Blake Lively. Let's get into the latest scoops on what's happening regarding Blake. The biggest sign, Taylor's friendship is over. I mean, this is obvious. I don't know why it's taken Taylor Swift fans to get to this so long, that Taylor clearly is not friends with Blake anymore. And that should say everything. To anybody who's still defending Blake Lively out there, how can you justify all these snubs? Explain it to me. Because Taylor should be defending Blake. And that's what Blake thinks too. But Taylor's not. She's doing everything but supporting Blake. And now she's snubbing her left.
What really tore them apart? That's the question nobody seems able to give a clear answer to. But the speculation all leans in the same direction. Friends don't go from public admiration to total silence without something shifting behind closed doors. Rumors point to a final tipping point. One incident that pushed an already fragile bond over the edge. Some sources say it didn't unfold in front of flashing cameras at all, but rather in private calls, quiet arguments, and disputes that never reached the polished pages of glossy magazines. One theory blames the spotlight. Taylor has never been subtle about weaving storylines out of her connections, whether romantic or friendly. Loyalty, betrayal, empowerment. Those themes drive her music and media presence. That constant exposure can excite some companions, but make others uneasy. Blake, on the other hand, fiercely guards her image and carefully manages how her family and career are presented. The thought of her friendship being turned into song lyrics or dissected by millions online might have crossed a boundary. If she felt Taylor was treating their bond as part of a bigger narrative instead of something private, that could explain the fracture. Then comes the clash of egos angle. Both women stand at the top of Hollywood, but their methods couldn't be more different. Taylor thrives on nonstop visibility, feeding her audience a carefully curated saga. Blake takes the opposite path, choosing her appearances with precision and rarely giving the public more than she wants to. When one flourishes by amplifying everything, and the other survives by holding back, conflict is almost inevitable. People close to them noticed the tension long before it became obvious, pointing out that mutual friends began sticking with Taylor, and rarely, if ever, with Blake. When a shared circle drifts to one side, it usually means the divide has reached a breaking point. Fans noticed, too. They tracked shrinking group outings, missing photos, and empty gaps in the timeline until the friendship itself seemed questionable. But here's the twist. It may not have been some fiery blow-up at all. Many think it was just a slow separation, two lives moving apart, until one moment made it impossible to ignore. And in their world, that moment was the engagement. That missing invite wasn't a slip-up. It was the headline that revealed cracks years in the making. The smiling red carpets, Instagram posts and glamorous parties had been covering up a bond already falling apart. Once the silence grew undeniable and the snub came to light, the truth couldn't be hidden. Which leaves the bigger question: are Hollywood friendships ever authentic? Or are they simply strategic partnerships meant to generate buzz and strengthen brands? And if Blake could be shut out this cleanly, the real question becomes, who's next on Taylor's list?